no nerve, but I got rhythm and my rhythm deserves to shake loose. I've been waiting my turn for just the right song.
Being an entry-level channel affords me the opportunity to really focus on the cheapest of the cheap sometimes. Sometimes I do it just for shock value or just for, you know, a point of interest. You know, what is the cheapest, least expensive version of a certain product? So I decided to do that with a compact disc player. So I found this thing. I have no idea what we're in for here. This is a portable CD player, CD20. Now, I came from the golden era of compact disc personal portables.
Celebrating 10 years of the compact disc from the people who invented it, Sony.
And they were always a premium. Even the generics were premium items that cost 80 or 90 bucks. We live in an era now where there's a million no-name products for pretty much everything you can think of. And the prices range from, you know, ridiculously expensive to affordable. And in this case, super, super cheap. It's already out of stock, so I don't know if it's ever coming back, but I thought, you know, we take a look at it and see what it's all about. It's also kind of funny we've come full circle because I remember my first personal portable CD player came in a box. It was my Sony D131. And then, like, by the late 2000s or the late 90s and early 2000s, cheap CD players started popping up to the point where you could get like I remember there was like a $10 one at Walmart, which is kind of crazy to me. And it was in a blister pack. So the cheapest products, including CD players, got to the point where they were in blister packs, and now we're back to boxes. So this is a non-retail package. This is not designed to sit on the shelf and sell itself. This is designed for, you know, a scenario like Amazon, which is where I got this. Okay, so we've got accessories, which is cool, right? I remember for a while where, you know, especially entry-level cheap products weren't coming with any accessories, but this one does. So we've got an 1/8" to 1/8" stereo cable. We've got a USB-C. Now, let not your heart be troubled, my friends, because what do we have here? We have AA batteries, super alkaline. Amazing they include alkaline batteries. Thank you for your purchase. This little card here, Griedo? This brand sounds vaguely familiar. I wonder if we reviewed something else of theirs. Here's a manual, multi-languages, no doubt. And here is the CD player. Okay. Not disturbingly light. Feels like a decent weight for what it is. Weird. Okay. I love how they come up with these designs. It's like, what are these guys going to do? So it's a plastic lid, silver finish, and it's got these deep ridges, not unlike a record, but it's sort of domed. As you can see, it's not flat like a record. And then we've got this ring here, which serves as a decorative element, but also functional because we've got these buttons down here. And I don't know if this is coming across on camera, but it's got a brushed aluminum type of texture, but it's black. LCD display. On the bottom, we do have our AA. This is a silver plastic, kind of a cheapish painted silver plastic. Yeah, you could tell it was molded black and then painted, spray painted silver. So yeah, it does run on AA's. It is not rechargeable. However, the reason why it came with the USB-C is you can run it off of the 5-volt USB power supply. So as long as you're plugged in, you can use that as a power supply. That's instead of like a 4.5 volt barrel connector. So that's fine. I don't think anybody could complain about that. That's fine. We got 4 foam pads down here. Our hold switch. If we move around here, we've got the power receptacle. It does play digital audio files off of the TF card / SD card slot. We do have a volume knob, a novel idea these days. So many CD players and portable devices just have little clicky switches, but this one has an actual volume knob. Keep in mind, this was the cheapest of the cheap. This is literally, as far as I can tell right now, the cheapest new CD player in the world. And that's interesting. So like the nomenclature of what these are, the indicator, whatever you would call that, the writing is just molded into the plastic, which is fine. Phones, headphone jack is right there. And what do we got here? Oh, it's a latch for the lid. So yeah, this is, even without batteries, it's got decent weight to it. On the bottom, portable CD player model CD-20, 5 volts, 1 amp, made in China. that's pretty much it. It's actually, I wouldn't say it's simple because, you know, a very bare bones wouldn't even have the SD card slot. But this looks to have EQ capabilities. And yeah, that's pretty dang slick. So let's go ahead and open up the lid and take a look at the transport. We got a card here to protect the laser assembly. Transport is back here. It is shock mounted. We've got the bottom side of the circuitry there, ribbon cable in the back. And this looks to be just about the size of a compact disc. And I like that. I like the idea of the device, but it's a little bit bigger than a CD. And then a little gap here so you can leverage to pick up a 3-inch disc as well if you're playing a smaller CD. So, all right, let's go ahead and power it on. Now, I know folks have said over and over in the comments about how alkaline batteries are the way to go and rechargeable batteries are not good, and you know, what's it going to be like in 20 years, et cetera, et cetera. I get that argument, but at the same time, it baffles me a little bit because the rechargeable batteries are oftentimes socketed. They could be replaced as well. Maybe not as easy as popping a lid off, popping in a couple of AA's, but still at the same time, it's not like the end of the world if a rechargeable battery were to die. Interesting, this latch is down here on the bottom instead of on the side. All right, I'm going to, just for basic fun, well, I got 2 discs here. Which one should we use, MP3 CD or the Wave Disc CD? Probably the MP3 will be the easiest for it to recognize. It may, I haven't looked at the specifications or anything, but yeah, you can see the disc itself occupies most of that space. Let's go ahead and power it on. Oh, it's backlit. Wasn't expecting a backlit display at this price. That is nice. Nice sharp display. It's going to spin up the disc. It's reading it. Again, this is an MP3 on a CDR. And we'll just wait and see if it's able to play. I don't even know if it's able to play MP3 CDs. That may not even be in its wheelhouse. It may just be a straight CD player, which is fine. Yep, okay, so it can play. It did take a minute to load there. We got the track and the time, the counter right there, and then MP3 for the disc type. This button right here functions as an A/B switch as well as a repeat and a shuffle mode switch. We've got an EQ here, bass boost, pop, jazz, rock, and flat. SP minus. I'm not sure what that does. I'll have to read the manual, as much as that kills me. And then our transport controls and a power switch, which functions as a stop if I just tap it once, press and hold, and it shuts it off. Okay, I'm going to do something I don't usually do on this show, and I am going to spend some time with it. So by the time you see this video edited, I will have already spent a few days with it, tested it out, listened to it. I'll come back with my thoughts, my findings, do a direct feed sound test, and we'll go from there. We'll see if we can recommend the world's cheapest CD player as a good CD player. Okay, so a few days have gone by and I've spent some time with this thing, what I believe to be the world's cheapest CD player. And it's not terrible. It's not fantastic either. And I want to kind of explain that to you. And, you know, in the past, I've sort of had a bad habit of generalizing CD player performance as just being a baseline good. And while I believe that for the most part to be the case, there are variances. So I'm going to work really hard with this video to dive into the specifics of that. For instance, I was comparing this thing that we're looking at today side by side with the vintage D131. And there's a lot of similarities, but some significant differences that you will be able to hear. We're going to do a direct feed sound test as well. But to begin with, let's talk a little bit about the functionality. Before we get too far, I want to say a huge thank you to Laura Ainsworth for providing music for today's video. This is her compact disc. You asked for it. Highly recommend checking out her music. And again, thank you for being gracious and sending us this music to use for demo purposes. I'm just going to kind of go through using this CD player and my observations in doing so before we get to the direct feed sound test. And I'm going to do a side-by-side direct feed between this and this so you can hear the difference. I think that you will be maybe a little bit surprised that you really can hear a difference. So to power this thing on, you press and hold the power switch and it pops right up and it will load the last song that you had playing. I've got this connected via the headphone output into the Bluetooth speaker that you can see just at the top of the camera frame right there. And this is ambient sound you're hearing right now in the room. I've got the microphone that I'm talking into in real time. and these speakers that you're hearing just off camera there. So again, this isn't the direct feed. Don't make a judgment on the sound quality just yet. We're gonna do that all in good time. Right now, we're just talking about functionality. So it will remember the position that it was at before. Now watch this. When I switch tracks, I want you to, and also it remembers the EQ setting. I've got the bass boost on, which is pretty boomy, but I want to use the bass boost in this test because I will be using the bass boost on here as well. So I want the EQs to match as much as possible. So to my ears, the best EQ is usually flat, no added EQ. But again, because the side-by-side, I want it to be as even as possible, I'll be using the bass boost. Okay, so we skip tracks. I want you to watch the delay when I skip tracks. Okay, so we're playing and then I hit skip. See, it's still transitioning to the next song. That's a long time to skip. Let me do it again. It's taking a good 4 seconds. That's astronomically long in terms of skipping track time length. That it should be. The reason is that the anti-skip circuit is not, it's unswitchable. It's always on. So it's buffering that audio. I don't know if it's a lossy buffer, a lossless buffer. I used to think that all of those were lossy, but apparently there was lossless buffers as well. So I can't hear the difference to my naked ear. So I'm going to assume that it's not impeding the quality, but you can't turn that on and off. So, and you can see it right there, the ASP. Now that being said, it doesn't skip, which is good. I personally listen to my CD players stationary. I'm not jogging around with them, but I think that feature may be a little bit overrated these days. I don't know if people, I don't know. I mean, I can see people complaining because you even look at this thing cross-eyed and it's going to skip. That being said, I usually just set it and play. You know, I'm not like moving around with it. But if a jog feature, anti-skip feature is big to you, you'll love this because you can't switch it off. You can't turn it off. Now, if there is a lossy buffer, that means that all the audio is going to be filtered into a lossy digital compression. And a long skip to the next song because it's buffering it. It's probably spinning the disc up faster than real time and playing it into that buffer, or it's just delayed. This might be delayed based on how long that skip is taking. So that's a little annoying. That being said, I tested it multiple times. It does have gapless playback.
Gapless CD player, so catch it while you can.
So for the gapless playback fanatics out there, rest assured this one is able to do gapless playback. Keeping in mind, this is $9.99 or 95 cents, the cheapest CD player in the world as far as I can tell. Next, I want to talk about this very strange feature that they dedicated these buttons to. It's a speed adjust. You can adjust the playback speed, digitally of course, of your audio on here. Check this out. So if we let it play regular time, I can then press the plus and it speeds it up.
I'm a glum one. It's explainable.
It keeps the pitch the same, which is interesting. Then if I go all the way -5,
The world is my oyster.
keeping the pitch the same, then up to 0 is normal speed. You can hear a little bit of digital artifacting when it goes -5. +5 sounds a little cleaner. Obviously, a normal human wouldn't do this for most music cases. For people that listen to audiobooks, that could be very, very helpful. Specifically, the speed up part of that. Now, the slow down part of that, maybe not as useful. So we're in bass boost mode now. You can also do pop, jazz, rock. All three of those, in my opinion, don't really sound that good. The bass boost is the best one, but the best feature of all is no filter. So just having it flat sounds the best to my ears. Bass boost, again, is what we're going to be using today. You can see the battery indicator up on the upper right. This is using those alkaline batteries. And it's a pretty basic display, track and time. That's about all you get. This does have, like I alluded to earlier, an SD card slot, which I have in there right now. By the way, final decision on this color. I think that the silver painted black plastic just looks cheap. This is very early 2000s, especially with the molded words and nomenclature in here. It's cheap. I wish it was black. I'd rather have black plastic than this. It's not terrible, but you know, it's acting like it's metal, and it's definitely not. That being said, it doesn't feel cheap and light. It feels like a plastic CD player. This texture up here is fantastic. This is very, very nice. It's a very ergonomic thing. It's positioned well. You can, you know, reach all the buttons with your thumbs. It feels good in the hand. It's small. It's not overly heavy. It's not overly cheap. The build quality, from a pure build quality and materials standpoint, I feel like is on par with something like these Hot players that are much, much more expensive. Overall, though, I would say that this is still a better experience than this. And you may be saying, well, what's the difference? Even though the fit and finish is on par, this still feels like a bit of a premium item. Everything that they do on the higher end items are just small little incidental things, just somehow collectively present themselves as a better overall product. And that may be hard to understand, but if you were just to hold this in your hand, you may say, the plastic looks cheap, or, you know, you may nitpick something, but overall, there's nothing overtly heinous about this. But this definitely has a more polished appearance. So if you're like, are the no-name CD players, the more expensive ones, any different than the low-end ones? I would say yes, that there is a difference. This is compatible with MP3 CDs, regular CDs, WMA files. So if you want to play your TF card, if you have the CD inserted and then you put a TF card, it'll automatically switch to the TF card. However, if you power the device down and back on, it will only revert to the CD player until you take the CD out, which I have done, and now it reverts back to the TF card. Sounds confusing. It actually makes a little bit of sense. And then you can skip through all of the files that are compatible. As far as I can tell, there's no surfing through any folders or any sort of navigating through the folder system. This is a very complex layout on this particular TF SD card. It just skips over the files it can't play, and it plays the ones it can. So it's a basic MP3 digital audio player off of the SD card, but it does work, and you know, it does what you would expect for a CD player to do in terms of playing back an SD card. Okay, I mentioned earlier that there's a fundamental difference between the vintage and the new, and I want to kind of go over that. It does manifest itself in terms of sound quality, so pay attention to this if you want to know why it sounds different. So a vintage unit of this era, 1994, uses what's called a 1-bit DAC. It was a proud marketing term that they put on the equipment. A 1-bit DAC was a Delta Sigma system that essentially used sound shaping to form the waveform, and then filtering to filter out those inaudible sometimes, but sometimes audible high frequencies that would sound bad. Basically a low pass filter to get the sound back to a pristine digital audio signal that we would want to use. But modern systems, including the higher end ones and the very low end ones, use an updated version of that 1-bit Delta Sigma DAC technology. It's very similar in its basic premise of how it functions, but there's some key differentiators that impact the sound quality. Overall, an OG 1-bit DAC system is going to sound warmer, fuller, smoother, and these are generalizations, but they're true. Modern 1-bit Delta Sigma DACs sound harsher, thinner, tinnier, and maybe slight distortions here and there. Now, a lot of people, I would say the majority of people would just be like, yeah, it sounds fine, you know, whatever, I don't hear anything. But if you're critically listening to it, which I have been, you will be able to hear it different. Definitely warmer and smoother, colder and harsher. And basically that's attributed to much simpler components here, where the Sony would have independent chips for the CD reading and the DAC itself, and the buffering and all of that stuff would be laid out in separate components. This has a system on a chip. It's all micro-sized in a tiny chip. This vintage D131 is going to use a 1-bit Delta Sigma bitstream DAC with separate CD, DAC, and amp chips. So the analog output stage is going to be a little bit more discrete, higher end sound overall, and the build quality is going to be superior. It's more warm and musical tonally speaking. Now, a modern cheap unit like this still uses a 1-bit Delta Sigma DAC, but it uses a very basic implementation. That being said, this still makes a good sound that I will listen to. I'm actually going to use this. I mean, it's not like we're talking minuscule differences, not minuscule, but they are subtle differences. It's not a night and day difference, as you will soon hear for yourself. So enough of that. It's time to put our headphones on. I'm going to connect you directly to each of these units, and we are going to listen for ourselves.
Yet never doubt, dear, I can't forget you. I've thought you out, dear. I know your profile, and I know the way you kiss. Just the thing I miss on a night like this. If dreams are made of imagination, I'm not afraid of with all my heart is here for you to take. Why should I quake? I'm not.
So I think you guys can hear what I'm talking about. It just sounds better. And I found myself with this counting down and looking at the display and staying rather disassociated with the music based on it's just an unpleasant overall sound in comparison, whereas this was just sound warm, and I found myself losing track of the display time. I actually recorded way more than I needed to because I got lost in the music. It's really weird. There's more going on here than just meets the ear in terms of sound quality, what that means, and what it means for sound quality to equate to a quality listening experience. That being said, this thing was $10 brand new. It will physically play your CDs just fine. It's not going to sound the best, but for $10, you can't buy a Whopper with cheese meal anymore for that kind of money. This is like, it's unbelievable what you get for this. An MP3 player, that's a lot of features and capability for a tenner. And I think that that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, if you want a good sounding CD player, go vintage if it's in working condition, or go for a higher end one. I compared this to that, and this was slightly better than that. It wasn't as good as this, but the DAC, the old school 1-bit DAC, or if you go, really old school 16-bit DACs, they do sound noticeably better. So there you go. Another good reason to go vintage on something besides turntables, and we've talked about tape players, but CD players as well. You can definitely get a benefit. Let me know in the comments down below what CD player you're running and if you would recommend it or not. All right, my friends, and that is going to do it. If you wouldn't mind, a thumbs up, a subscribe, all that good stuff. If you enjoyed this show, share it out, and be on the edge of your seat because we've got some incredible things coming your way very, very soon. Cannot wait to share with you, my friends. But that's going to do it for today. So happy record hunting, and we'll see you next time.
This adapter's where it all begins. Your vinyl dreams are calling out loud. Be the king, be the queen of the record crowd. Record-ology's got what you must embrace. A 45 adapter to rock the place.